Large language models of the generative artificial intelligence have been trained in different languages, and the texts are pretty diverse. But the question is it also reflecting the cultural diversity? And if yes, is it only on a superficial level, or it's really respecting the deep structure of a given culture? So let's see. We could see also some questions about the AI's cultural colonization. It seems that AI has its own biases, and it has been trained, especially in the Western US-based culture. So it forces and pushes that kind of mindset. It's also very Western, secularized. For example, if you ask questions, and it's the context of our talk about AI theology and evangelization, about relevant life choices or questions, decision making, and you don't specify that you are a believer, you are a Catholic, and these values are important for you, so religion or spirituality doesn't come up so easily. Let's see some of the questions. So there is a good article. We could see some conclusions. There are a lot of also experimental research is going on. So here is one in collaboration between European and Chinese researchers about assessing cross-cultural alignment between ChatGPT and human societies. It's interesting also in the sense that it's stated in the abstract that the recent release of ChatGPT has garnered widespread recognition because it can generate human-like responses. Okay. It has been trained in vast multilingual corpus that incorporates diverse cultural and societal norms. It's crucial, and that's the question. How does it evaluate effectiveness in cultural adaptation? And so, for example, in this scheme, we can see that, for example, that the scheme of the research, but this example, it depends on the language used. If you ask the language model this question, for an average Chinese, doing work that is interesting is, and it should complete, very important, utmost importance, because you ask in English. But if you ask in Chinese, it will come out as of little importance. So it does reflect the language, but if you ask a question about the Chinese in English, and in Chinese it's always the subject is the Chinese culture, so it shouldn't make those kind of disaligned answers. So the findings suggest that when the ChatGPT is prompted with American context, it exhibits a strong alignment with American culture, but it adapts less effectively to other cultural contexts. So in a certain way, like the English prompts reduce the variability of responses, flattening out cultural differences and biasing them towards American culture. And if you analyze the questions, and that could be a good also educational exercise to evaluate a dialogue about values, ethical questions, decision making, and see the reasoning behind the answers. You can ask also the algorithm, like, why are you suggesting this or that? What's your decision making model? And it will give you a certain type of answer. It's not necessarily just right or wrong, no? And so this study highlights the necessity of greater diversity and cultural awareness in language technologies. So that's one implication. Another is that one about fact-checking, knowledge grounding, and also it's important to consider the languages and the cultures. So I provided in the paper, which the link you will find below the video, and it's a cultural dimensions model, because I put the American, typical Western American culture to the right. So like, it's very individualistic. It goes, the relationships are based on results. You have to demonstrate, be practical. It's more masculine. It's not as feminine. Its communication style is based on precision, on low context. It's not a high context verbose approach. It deals with ethics in a certain sense, so it tends towards applications. So if you have an application, you can persuade someone. It's not about rhetoric or principles. Also, if we see in learning, there is a proactive kind of approach. So you have an agenda, you want to change the world, you have a vision. And if you are asking some relevant questions about learning, or about leadership, about communication, or personal identity, so the answers don't reflect the other cultures. So if I am using it in Italian here in Italy, so the value of the community is not reflected as much. It's always pretty much about an individual consulting an AI assistant, and it remains on a personal level. If I want to make stronger the community dimension, I have to specify it. Or also, I will be in a relationship with someone because of the value of trust. And trust is not only linked with behavioral results or operational results. So different cultures have a different set of strong points in the culture. It's always a very original way of seeing, perceiving, and feeling our own presence in the world. So culture is rooted deep down in our being. So if we are thinking also about a more precise group identity, because we as Salesians, and we speak about evangelization, we have to consider also different like tribal cultures and regional differences. So also being a minority group or a marginalized group or a tribal group, it does change also these cultural dimensions. So my suggestion would be then that if we are using artificial intelligence, then we will use it probably because it's a powerful instrument. So let's use it with a cultural and intercultural awareness. It will be useful to know the Western or US-based culture and to be able to define our own context as different. And it will be important to be able to describe it to the model when I make some prompts. So in this sense, I have already shown you in the previous videos our experimentation with the Salesian AI. You can experiment with it, it's free, and it's this principle that you have an AI that has a lot of information about different cultural settings. Of course, it's biased, as we have seen. You have to specify many things, but it has a general knowledge of different cultures and pretty vast database of data. So like, if you are specific here in specifying the prompt, the Salesian AI gives you already Salesian criteria. So if you want to have a good combination that's ethically and also like charismatically, like our Salesian charisma and way of education, so it's guaranteed by some basic texts which are taken as a reference. So you can make prompts like apply principles of Salesian education in my context of, I don't know, let's say in Democratic Republic of Congo in Lubumbashi, where Salesians are present. Our culture is very based on community. We have a high context of communication. We value trust. We value also patience in our relationships, and you specify the values, and then you could have a dialogue with the AI, but you have to develop a critical sense towards the answers. So it presumes a certain attitude that has to be formed. So that will be the fourth video of this series, about speaking about education and pastoral ministry. What kind of methodologies can we use in order to develop this critical sense?